Alright, hello everyone, this is Mr. Kurz. I'm going to go over our worksheet day 3, getting ready for the SAT. Juniors, if you are taking the SAT, make sure you are studying this, giving it your best effort. Number 1, solve this equation. Well, if we have a square root, if I square both sides, the radical sign is gone. Square this, write it twice and FOIL it. I simplified it down here, factored out an x, and now my two factors are x and x squared, and there's my two solutions, 0 and 2. Number 2, the equation of a perpendicular line to this line. Well, right here I drew this line right here. This line has a intercept of 3, and then it goes up 5 over 1, so there's my line. And if I want a perpendicular line, well, it's going to have to be going down, so it's a negative, and instead of up 5 over 1, it's 1 over 5. Alright, and now that I have the slope figured out, I plug in my point. This is x, this is y, so the x goes there, which makes it positive, and the y goes there. Don't know the b value, subtract it over. Negative 1 minus a fifth is negative 1 and a fifth more. So my equation is negative 1/5 x minus 6/5. And that's about where that line crosses at down there. The graph's not perfect, but it is down here. So there's the equation. Number 3, what's the slope of the line? Well, I always graph these lines. It should be a y there. If you had an x, switch it to y. I always graph this with intercepts. If x is 0, then y must be negative 4. If y is 0, x must be 3. And there's my 2 points. So I can see that I have an upward sloped line with an intercept down here. To do it analytically, I'm going to go ahead and move this over. Divide everything by 3, and here's my equation. 4/3. This line is going up 4 over 3. Negative 1 is where it starts. That's my intercept. Area of a sector. Here's a circle with radius 10. 105 degrees. I'm being asked to find what is that area right there. Well, that area of a circle is pi r squared. However, I don't want the full circle, I only want this fraction of it. I want 105 degrees out of the 360. So you can simplify that down to 175/6 pi, or 29.17. Number 5 is a composite function. We have two functions, an f function and a g function, and we're asked to figure out f of g of 8. So first I'm going to do the inside and do g of 8. So I'm going to take my g function and plug in 8, and if I do that, that's 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. Now that I have 4, I'm going to do my f function, f of 4, and I'm going to use this f function up here, and plug in 4, and I've done the math to negative 4. A parabola. This equation is how you graph a parabola. This equation right here is how you graph a line. This is how you graph a parabola. Well, the vertex is whatever makes this 0, negative 1, and I transfer this down here, so that's my vertex, negative 1, 4. And there's that line of symmetry down the middle. Y-intercept. Plug in 0 for x. You'll output a negative 3 for the y-intercept. And the x-intercepts are found when you plug in 0 for y. So I put a 0 for y. I solve this by factoring. There's my intercepts. 2 x-intercepts, a y-intercept, and a vertex, and that's enough to get this nice, neat shape of a parabola out of it. Number 7, domain and range. Domain are the possible x values. So if I look at the x-axis from left to right, I just remember left to right for domain, the furthest left I can go is negative 1, and it is touching negative 1, and the furthest right I can go is 5, but it's not touching 5, so x is between negative 1 and 5. You can write it with symbols like this or symbols like this. These two symbols mean it is touching x, or touching negative 1. These two symbols mean it's not touching 5. Y is just the opposite. Y is the up and down, top to bottom. The bottom of this graph goes down to 3, but it's not touching 3 anywhere. The top of this graph goes up over here to 7. Right there's the top of that graph, 7. So this graph goes from a bottom of 3 to a top of 7. a bottom of 3 to a top of 7. Not touching 3, but it is touching 7. All right, evaluate each. Just some exponents and log stuff you should know here. 7 to the 0 is 1. Log of base 216 is 4 because it needs that exponent to get up there. The 1/2 power means I write it like this. I say I have 100 to the first power, then I take the second root of it. That's just the same as the square root. That's 10. Over here, I have two different things going on. I'm going to take the square root first of 9, and then I'm going to take that to the third power. So the square root of 9 is 3, to the third power is 27. Just like I could have rewrote this here as the square root of 100 to the first power. That's 10 to the first power. This is the square root of 9, which is 3. 3 to the third power is 27. 6 to the negative 2 is 1 over 36. But if I have a negative out front, that means this is being squared to get 36, and then it's made negative. Solve for c in this equation. Well, I multiply both sides by 2. 2 and 2. Those make 1, so that I don't have to write that. This is 2w, then divide this over to that side. C is equal to 2 times w divided by u squared. Alright, I hope this helps with your SAT prep.